The commerce district of Viridian Station buzzed with life. Hundreds of aliens moved through the wide corridors, their voices creating a strange symphony of clicks, whistles, and hums. Merchant stalls lined both sides of the walkway, selling everything from exotic foods to advanced technology. The air smelled of spices, and Ozone. Hyan Wu wiped his hands on his work coveralls and headed toward the food vendors. His shift in the maintenance tunnels had been long and exhausting. All he wanted was a hot meal and maybe something sweet to take back to his quarters. He walked past a group of tall, blue-skinned merchants arguing about prices. A small, furry creature scurried between his feet, chittering nervously. Then he saw something strange. The crowd ahead parted like water flowing around a stone. Aliens pressed themselves against the walls and stalls, creating a wide, empty space. At the center of this bubble walked a figure that made Hyan Wu stop and stare. She was tall and slender, moving with the grace of a dancer. Her skin was black as polished obsidian, with faint purple veins that glowed softly beneath the surface. Silver eyes caught the station's artificial light. Elegant bone-like structures curved from her temples, almost like a crown. She wore simple robes that might have been royal garments once, now faded and worn. Hyan Wu had never seen anyone like her. He had been on Viridian Station for 6 months, working as a mechanic, and he thought he had seen every type of alien the galaxy had to offer. But this woman was different. Beautiful in a way that seemed almost unreal. She approached a fruit vendor, her movements slow and careful. The vendor, a squat reptilian creature, immediately began closing his stall. Metal shutters slammed down with loud bangs. The woman stopped. Her silver eyes showed no surprise, only a deep, ancient sadness. She turned to another stall. The same thing happened. The merchant, a being made of crystalline structures, turned away and dimmed its light. Hyan Wu frowned. What was going on? The woman continued walking, trying vendor after vendor. Each one refused her. Some turned away silently. Others shouted in languages Hyan Wu didn't understand, but the meaning was clear from their angry gestures. One merchant actually spat on the ground. Nobody else in the crowd seemed bothered by this. They just kept their distance, whispering to each other. Hyan Wu caught fragments of conversation as aliens passed him. Nafkari. Cursed species. Dangerous. Why doesn't security remove her? Ancient law forbids contact. The plague. The woman finally stopped trying. She stood alone in the middle of the busy corridor, surrounded by hurrying aliens who refused to look at her. Her shoulders slumped slightly. She held a small bag that looked almost empty. Hyan Wu felt something twist in his chest. He knew that feeling. He had felt it himself when he first arrived on the station, lost and alone, unable to understand the complex social rules of galactic society. But this was worse. This was deliberate cruelty. He didn't think about it too much. Thinking would have given him time to remember all the warnings his supervisor had given him about respecting alien customs and not causing trouble. Instead, he just walked forward. The crowd noise seemed to fade as he crossed the invisible boundary into the empty space around her. He felt eyes turning toward him, felt the sudden attention of hundreds of beings focusing on the human, who was breaking some unspoken rule. The woman turned her silver eyes on him. Up close, he could see that her face was more human-like than he had thought, though sharper and more angular. Those eyes held centuries of pain. "Excuse me," Hyan Wu said, his voice sounding too loud in the sudden quiet. "Do you need help?" She stared at him for a long moment. Her lips parted slightly in shock. When she spoke, her voice was musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "You speak to me?" "Yeah, I saw you were having trouble getting served." "That's not right." Hyan Wu glanced at the watching crowd, feeling uncomfortable but stubborn. "I'm Hyan Wu. I work in maintenance here. I know what you are. she said softly. Human, your species is new to the galactic community. You do not yet know the old laws, the old fears. What law says people can't buy food? Something that might have been a sad smile crossed her face. The law that says my kind are cursed, that we spread plague and death, that anyone who touches us becomes contaminated. She took a step back from him. You should go, human Hyan Wu. They will mark you now. They will treat you as they treat me. That's ridiculous, Hyan Wu said, though he was starting to feel nervous as he noticed security drones moving closer, their sensors focused on him. You look like you need food. I was going to grab something anyway. Want to join me? There's a human-run place that serves Earth food. They won't refuse service. The woman's silver eyes widened. You would share a meal with me? You would be seen in public with a Nethkari? I don't know what that means, but sure. Everyone needs to eat. For the first time, something other than sadness crossed her face. Hope, fragile and uncertain, bloomed in her expression. Then it died, replaced by something harder. No, she said firmly. I have lived too long in darkness to drag someone else down with me. You are kind, human, but kindness without knowledge is dangerous. Go back to your people. Forget you saw me. She turned to walk away. Hyan Wu surprised himself by reaching out and gently touching her arm. Her skin was cool, almost cold, but solid and real under his fingers. The entire district fell absolutely silent. The woman looked down at his hand on her arm as if he had just performed an impossible miracle. Around them, aliens backed away even further. Hyan Wu heard gasps and shocked exclamations in a dozen languages. I'm not big on forgetting people who need help, Hyan Wu said quietly. At least tell me your name. She looked from his hand to his face, searching for something. Whatever she found there made her shoulders straighten slightly, made her stand a little taller. Valratha, she said, her musical voice barely above a whisper. I am Queen Valratha, last of the Nethkari, and you, human Hyan Wu. She paused, and this time her smile was real, though touched with sorrow. You have done something no one has done in 50 years. You have reached out your hand. A security drone descended between them, its mechanical voice harsh. Human worker Hyan Wu, step away from the contaminated being. This is your only warning. Hyan Wu looked at the drone, then back at Valratha. He made a decision that would change everything. No, he said simply. The queen's silver eyes filled with tears that caught the light like diamonds. The punishment came swiftly. The next morning, Hyan Wu found himself reassigned to the worst maintenance sector on the entire station. Section 7 Delta, where the waste recycling systems constantly malfunctioned, and the smell made even the hardiest workers gag. His supervisor, Tai Sung, was a large reptilian creche with scales that changed color with his mood. Right now they were a dark, angry red. What were you thinking? Tae-sung hissed, his forked tongue flicking in agitation. You know how important it is for humans to follow the rules here. We're still new, still proving ourselves. I just helped someone who needed it, Hyan Wu said, pulling on his protective gear. That someone is Nethkari. Do you know what that means? Do you know what her people did? No, nobody will tell me. Tae-sung's scales shifted to a troubled purple. There's a reason for that. The less said about them, the better. Just stay away from her, Hyan Wu. For your own good. But Hyan Wu couldn't get Valratha out of his mind. Those silver eyes haunted him during his entire shift. The way she had looked at him when he touched her arm, as if he had done something impossible. The tears she tried to hide. After his shift ended, he headed to the station's public archives. The library was a quiet space, filled with data terminals and holographic displays. A few scholars and researchers worked in silence, surrounded by floating screens of information. Hyan Wu searched for information about the Nethkari. At first, he found almost nothing. Just warnings and legal notices about quarantine protocols. But he kept digging, going back through older and older records. Finally, he found something. A historical database from before the current Galactic administration. The Nefkari had been a civilization of artists and scholars. Their cities were described as beautiful beyond measure, built from living crystal that sang in the wind. They had developed bioenergy technology that could sustain life and heal diseases. Then, about 1,000 years ago, everything changed. The records became confusing and contradictory. There was mention of a plague that spread through several systems. The Nefkari were blamed. The Calvar Empire, the most powerful government at the time, declared them a threat to galactic health and safety. Sanctions were put in place. Contact was forbidden. The Nefkari were isolated on their homeworld. Then, 200 years ago, the records simply stopped mentioning them at all. Haiyan Wu leaned back in his chair, troubled. Something about this didn't add up. If they were so dangerous, why was Velrotha allowed to walk around the station? Why wasn't she in quarantine or prison? He made another decision. He was going to find her and get real answers. Section 9 was supposed to be abandoned. The station plans showed it was scheduled for demolition. Haiyan Wu had to bypass 3 security warnings just to access the old corridors. The lights here were dim and flickering. The air tasted stale. He found her in what might have been a cargo bay once. She sat on the floor, surrounded by the few possessions she had. A warm blanket. A small device that played soft, haunting music. A book, the pages yellow with age. Velrotha looked up as he entered, surprise and alarm crossing her face. "You should not be here," she said, standing quickly. "They will punish you more severely. Already got the worst assignment on the station. Can't get much worse." Haiyan Wu looked around the cold, empty space. "This is where you live." Live is perhaps too strong a word. She wrapped her arms around herself. "I exist here. I wait here. Wait for what? For the Galactic Council to hear my petition. For someone to listen to the truth about my people. For..." She trailed off, looking away. "It does not matter. I have been waiting for 73 years. I will likely wait until I fade completely." Fade? Velrotha moved to a broken power conduit on the wall. She placed her hand near it, and Haiyan Wu saw faint tendrils of energy flow from the sparking wires into her palm. Her skin glowed slightly brighter for a moment. "We are bioenergy beings," she explained. "We must feed on electrical life force to survive. In the old days, we had willing donors. Other species would share their energy with us, and we would give them knowledge and art in return. It was symbiotic, beautiful. But now no one will come near me. I survive on scraps from damaged systems. Stolen moments of power." Her glow faded again. "It is not enough. I am dying, Haiyan Wu." Slowly, but certainly. Haiyan Wu felt anger building in his chest. "This is wrong. All of it. Tell me the truth. What really happened with your people and this plague?" Velrotha sat down again, gesturing for him to join her. He sat and she began to speak. Her voice was soft but steady. "We did not cause a plague. We discovered one. The Calvar Empire was developing biological weapons in secret. We found evidence. We tried to warn the galactic community." She looked at her hands. "The Calvar were too powerful. They turned the story around, blamed us for the very weapons they created. By the time anyone thought to question it, the damage was done. We were exiled, and your people died, one by one. Without contact with other species, without bioenergy donors, we simply faded away. Some took their own lives rather than starve slowly. Others went mad from isolation." Her silver eyes met his. "I am the last because I am stubborn. I kept hoping someone would listen, that someone would care enough to investigate the truth. I care, Hyanwu said, and I'm going to help you. You cannot. You are one person, one human. What can you do against 1,000 years of lies? Hyanwu smiled. My grandmother used to say that every big change starts with one person being stubborn enough to try. I'm pretty stubborn. For the first time since he met her, Valratha laughed. It was a beautiful sound, like bells ringing. I can see that, she said. But Hyanwu, even if you want to help, what can you do? I need bioenergy. I need willing donors. I need what no one will give. Hyanwu thought about this. Then he remembered something from his research. The Nefkari had described the energy exchange as safe, even beneficial for both parties. What if I'm willing? He asked. Valratha's eyes went wide. No, absolutely not. Why not? Because it is intimate. Sacred to my people. Because I can hurt you if I take too much. Because... She stood, pacing. Because once the connection is formed, it cannot be easily broken. You would be bound to me, and I to you. The galaxy already hates me, Hyanwu. I will not let them hate you too. Let me worry about that. You do not understand what you are offering. Hyanwu stood and walked over to her. Then explain it to me. Really explain it. Because right now, all I see is someone who needs help, and I can provide it. Seems simple to me. Valratha looked at him for a long moment. In her silver eyes, he saw hope warring with fear, desire fighting against honor. Finally, she spoke. If you truly mean this, come back tomorrow. Think about it carefully tonight. If you still wish to help me then, I will accept. But know this, human Hyanwu. She placed a cool hand on his chest, right over his heart. Once this begins, your life will never be the same. Maybe that's okay, Hyanwu said softly. Maybe my life needs to change. Hyanwu didn't sleep well that night. He kept thinking about Valratha alone in that cold, abandoned section of the station. He thought about her fading light, her dying slowly while the galaxy ignored her suffering. He also thought about what she had said, that the connection would bind them together, that his life would change forever. By morning, he had made his decision. It was the same decision he had made when he first saw her in the Commerce District. The same decision that seemed to come naturally to him, even when it was probably stupid. He was going to help Dot before going to see her. He stopped by the human quarter of the station. There was a small cafeteria where Earth food was served. He bought 2 containers of hot soup and some fresh bread. If she was going to feed on his energy, the least he could do was make sure his own energy levels were good. The walk to Section 9 felt longer this time. He passed several security checkpoints, each one logging his movements. He knew someone was watching. He didn't care. Valratha was waiting for him. She had cleaned the space a little, pushed aside some debris. She looked nervous, her fingers twisting together. You came back, she said softly. I said I would. He held up the food containers. Brought breakfast. Or lunch. I'm not sure what time it is anymore. They sat together and ate. Valratha took small, careful bites, as if she had forgotten what real food tasted like. The soup seemed to surprise her. This is good, she said. Warm. I had forgotten what warm food feels like. It's just chicken soup. My mom's recipe. Your mother taught you to cook. Yeah. She said everyone should know how to feed themselves and others. Said it's a basic kindness. Hyanwu finished his bread. I think she would like you. Valratha's smile was sad. I think she would be terrified of me, like everyone else. My mom once brought home a stray dog that had bitten 3 people. She said it just needed someone to be gentle with it. The dog became the sweetest pet we ever had. He looked at Valratha directly. Point is, my mom taught me that scared, hurt things need kindness, not more fear. I am not a dog, Hyanwu. I know. You're a queen, but you're also alone and hurting. And I can help with that. Valratha set down her food. Her hands were shaking slightly. If we do this, I need you to understand what will happen. When I feed on bioenergy, I will connect to your nervous system. I will feel your emotions. You will feel mine. You will see my memories, pieces of my life. It can be overwhelming. Okay. I will try to be gentle, to take only what I need. But if I take too much, you will feel weak, possibly sick for a few days. I've had the flu before. I'll manage. And the connection, once formed, is permanent. We will always be able to sense each other, even across distances. You will carry a piece of me, and I will carry a piece of you. Haiyan thought about this. So like really good friends? Despite her nervousness, Valratha laughed. More than friends, bonded. It is the deepest connection my people can form. She became serious again. It is not something to decide lightly. I'm not deciding lightly. I thought about it all night. He reached out and took her hand. Her skin was cool, but not unpleasant. I want to help you, Valratha. Not because I don't understand, but because I do. You've been alone for too long. Nobody should have to be that alone. Her silver eyes filled with tears again. Why? Why would you do this for me? You barely know me. Because it's the right thing to do. Because I can't walk away from someone who needs help. Because... He paused, trying to find the right words. Because back on Earth, I had a friend who killed himself. He was struggling, and he never told anyone. Never asked for help. I didn't know until it was too late. I promised myself I would never ignore someone who was hurting again. Valratha squeezed his hand. I am sorry for your friend. Me too. So, are we doing this, or are we going to sit here being sad all day? She smiled through her tears. You are very strange, human Haiyan. I've been told that before. Valratha stood and helped him to his feet. She guided him to sit with his back against the wall, somewhere comfortable. Then she knelt in front of him. This will feel strange at first, she warned. Do not be afraid. Just breathe and stay calm. I trust you. Those 3 words seemed to affect her deeply. She closed her eyes for a moment, composing herself. Then she placed both hands on either side of his head, her cool palms against his temples. Ready? She whispered. Ready. Valratha's eyes began to glow, shifting from silver to a bright, luminous purple. Haiyan felt a tingling sensation start at his temples and spread through his whole body. It wasn't painful, just odd. Like electricity running under his skin, but warm instead of shocking. Then the connection opened and the world changed. He saw through her eyes, felt through her heart. Memories flooded through him like water breaking through a dam. He saw Nethkari cities made of singing crystal. Beautiful spires that reached toward purple skies. People like Valratha moving through gardens where every plant glowed with inner light. Art and music everywhere. Joy and peace, then darkness. Ships in the sky. The Calver coming with weapons and accusations. Valratha arguing before a council, showing evidence, begging them to listen. No one listening. Her people being forced onto transports. Exile. Years passing. Decades. Her people dying one by one. Valratha holding friends as they faded into nothing. The loneliness growing. The hunger starting. The slow realization that she was the last one left. 73 years of waiting. Hoping, watching the galaxy move on without her people, without even remembering they had existed. The pain of it made Haiyan gasp. The loneliness was crushing, enormous, like an ocean trying to drown him. But underneath it all, he felt something else. Valratha's strength, her stubborn refusal to give up, her desperate hope that someday someone would care. And now, he felt her feeling him. his memories flowing to her. His childhood on Earth, his mother teaching him to cook, his friend's death and the guilt he carried, his decision to leave Earth and work in space, his basic, simple desire to help people when he could. She saw his kindness, and it amazed her. To her, it was like finding light in infinite darkness. The energy exchange began. Haiyan Wu felt his strength flowing into her, but it wasn't being stolen. It was being shared. In return, he felt her vitality growing, felt her gratitude like warm sunlight. When it was over, they both gasped and pulled apart. Haiyan Wu slumped against the wall, feeling tired but not bad, like after a hard workout. Valratha, though, was transformed. Her skin glowed with vibrant light, the purple veins pulsing with energy. Her silver eyes were bright and clear. She looked younger, stronger, more alive than he had ever seen her. Haiyan Wu, she breathed. I feel whole again. That's good, he managed to say, though his voice was weak. You look amazing. She moved to sit beside him, supporting him. Rest now. Your body needs to recover. Worth it, he mumbled, already feeling sleep pulling at him. The last thing he felt before drifting off was her hand in his and the warm presence of her mind, now permanently connected to his own. The standoff lasted for hours. Calver security surrounded the humans who protected Valratha. News crews recorded everything. The entire galaxy watched as a small group of humans refused to back down. Dong Haiyan finally restored order by threatening to dismiss the entire Calver security force from the station. Yi Wan retreated, but his cold eyes promised this wasn't over. The council went into emergency session. For 3 days, they reviewed the evidence Valratha had presented. Haiyan Wu stayed with her in a secured guest room the council provided. They were essentially under protective custody, but at least they were together. Do you think they will actually do anything? Valratha asked on the second night. She stood by the window, looking out at the stars. I don't know, Haiyan Wu admitted. But we did everything we could. You told the truth. That matters, does it? My people are still gone. The truth cannot bring them back. Haiyan Wu stood and joined her at the window. Through their bond, he felt her deep sadness, but also something else. A peace she hadn't felt in decades. The truth means they won't be forgotten, he said. It means their story ends with dignity, not lies. Valratha leaned against him. Over the past weeks, they had grown comfortable with physical closeness. The bond made it natural. I never thought I would find this, she said quietly. Companionship, understanding. After so long alone, I had forgotten what it felt like to be truly connected to someone. Me too, actually. I've been alone most of my adult life. Always moving, always working. Never really let anyone get close. And now you are bonded to an alien queen, the last of a dead species. What a strange fate. Haiyan Wu smiled. Could be worse. You're good company. She laughed softly, and he felt her gratitude and affection through their connection. On the third day, the council reconvened. This time, Haiyan Wu was allowed to sit beside Valratha. The chamber was packed with representatives, observers, and media. Donghan stood to speak. The old amphibian's face was grave. We have reviewed all evidence presented by Queen Valratha of the Nefkari. We have consulted historical records, interviewed witnesses, and examined the biological data from the alleged plague. He paused. The council has reached a decision. The chamber fell absolutely silent. The evidence is clear and damning. The Nefkari people were falsely accused of a crime they did not commit. The plague in question was a biological weapon developed by the Kalvar Empire approximately 1,000 years ago. The Nefkari attempted to expose this crime and were punished for their honesty. Uproar erupted. Kalvar representatives shouted denials. Other species called for justice. Dong Haiyan raised his hand for silence. The sanctions against the Nethkari people are hereby officially lifted. Their exile is declared unlawful and unjust. Furthermore, the Galactic Council formally apologizes for the genocide that occurred as a result of our failure to seek truth. Valratha's hand gripped Hyan Wu's so hard it hurt. Through their bond, he felt her emotions overwhelming her. Relief, grief, vindication, and terrible sadness all at once. Additionally, Dong Hyan continued, we will establish a memorial to the Nethkari civilization. Their contributions to art, science, and culture will be properly recorded and honored. A fund will be created for any surviving Nethkari or their descendants, should any be found. He looked directly at Valratha. This cannot undo what was done. We cannot bring back your people, Queen Valratha, but we can ensure they are remembered truthfully. We can ensure such injustice never happens again. Valratha stood on shaking legs. Hyan Wu stood with her, supporting her. Thank you, she said, her musical voice breaking. Thank you for hearing us, for caring enough to seek truth. Then she broke down crying. Not quiet tears, but deep, racking sobs that came from centuries of pain finally being acknowledged. Hyan Wu held her while she cried, and he didn't care that the entire galaxy was watching. G1 and the Calver delegation stormed out of the chamber. Dong Hyan warned them there would be consequences for the Empire's actions, both past and present, but Hyan Wu barely heard any of it. He was focused entirely on Valratha, sharing her pain and her healing through their bond. Later that night, back in their quarters, Valratha was quiet. She had cried herself out and now seemed empty, but in a peaceful way, like a storm that had finally passed. What will you do now? Hyan Wu asked gently. I do not know, she admitted. For so long, my only purpose was seeking justice for my people. Now that it is done, I feel. She searched for words. Lost, but also free. You could travel, see the galaxy, show people what the Nethkari were really like. She considered this. I could be an ambassador of sorts. Teach others about my people, about their culture and achievements. So they are not just a tragedy, but a celebration too. I think that's a great idea. Valratha looked at him carefully. And you, Hyan Wu? What will you do? You could return to your maintenance work. Return to your normal life. About that, I was thinking maybe I could come with you. If you want company, I mean. Her silver eyes widened. You would travel with me? Leave York here? The work was just a job. He struggled to explain. Through the bond, I feel like I understand things better. Like I'm part of something bigger. I don't want to go back to just fixing pipes and being alone. We would be bonded partners, traveling together. Many species would not understand our relationship. Hyan Wu shrugged. Let them not understand. I don't need their approval. Valratha smiled, and through the bond, he felt her joy blooming like a flower. Then yes, I would very much like you to come with me. 6 months later, Hyan Wu and Valratha stood before the newly completed Nethkari Memorial. It was a beautiful structure made of singing crystal, recreated from Valratha's memories by master artisans. The crystal sang softly in the artificial wind, a haunting melody that drew visitors from across the galaxy. Valratha placed her hand on the memorial wall, which displayed images and information about her people. Their art, their music, their achievements, their true story, finally told correctly. Hyan Wu placed his hand over hers, their fingers intertwining. Through their bond, he felt her bittersweet emotions. Sadness for what was lost, but gratitude that it was remembered. Thank you, she whispered, for reaching out your hand when everyone else turned away. Thank you for letting me, he replied. Around them, visitors stopped to read about the Nethkari. Some were moved to tears. Others asked questions, wanting to learn more. And Valratha answered them all with grace and patience, sharing her people's legacy with anyone who would listen. Minji was there too, documenting everything for her continuing series on the Nethkari and Galactic Justice. She had won several awards for her journalism, but she said this story mattered more than any award. Diane approached them, looking somewhat embarrassed. "I owe you an apology, Hyun-woo. I was wrong to try to stop you. You were protecting humanity's interests. I get it. Still, you showed more courage than I did. More wisdom, too." She looked at Velrotha. "The Council is considering new laws about species rights and protections. Your case changed a lot of minds." "I hope it changes hearts, too," Velrotha said. "Laws are important, but compassion is what truly prevents injustice." After the memorial dedication, Hyun-woo and Velrotha prepared to leave for their next destination. They had been invited to speak at a university 3 systems away. Then there were requests from museums, schools, and cultural centers. Everyone wanted to learn about the Nethkari Dot as they boarded their small ship. Hyun-woo looked back at Viridian Station one last time. "Any regrets?" Velrotha asked, sensing his thoughts through their bond. "Not one," he said honestly. "You." She took his hand, her cool skin familiar and comforting now. "I regret that I am the last of my people. I regret the centuries of loneliness. But I do not regret what came after you reached out to me. That changed everything. The galaxy taught you that you were meant to be alone," Hyun-woo said, remembering something she had told him once. Velrotha smiled, completing the thought. "But humanity taught me something stronger. That reaching out, even when the whole universe turns away, can change everything." They entered the ship together, ready for whatever came next. The bond between them hummed with contentment and hope. 2 beings from different worlds, connected by a simple act of kindness that had grown into something profound. Behind them, the memorial sang its crystal song to the stars, ensuring that the Nethkari would never be forgotten again. And ahead of them lay a galaxy that was slowly learning an important lesson. Sometimes, all it takes to change the world is one person brave enough to reach out their hand. Hyun-woo woke up 12 hours later, feeling weak but strangely peaceful. Velrotha was sitting nearby, watching over him. In the dim light of Section 9, she glowed like a gentle lamp. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like I ran a marathon. But okay." He sat up slowly. "How about you?" "Strong. Truly strong for the first time in decades." She helped him stand. "The connection is complete. Can you feel it?" Hyun-woo concentrated. Yes, there it was. A warm presence at the back of his mind that was distinctly not his own thoughts. He could sense her emotions, feel her concern for him mixed with hope and determination. "Yeah, I feel it. It's nice. Like not being alone, even when you're alone." "Yes," she said softly. "Exactly like that." Over the next few days, things began to change rapidly. The security footage of Hyun-woo entering Section 9 repeatedly had reached the station administrators. A human diplomat named Dae-yoon came to see him while he was working. Dae-yoon was in her 50s, professional and stern. She found him in the maintenance tunnels and didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Hyun-woo, we need to talk about your contact with the Nethkari. Her name is Velrotha. I don't care what her name is. You need to stop seeing her immediately." "No." Dae-yoon's expression hardened. "You don't seem to understand. Humanity is still new to the galactic community. We're trying to build relationships, establish trust. When you violate galactic laws and customs, you make all of us look bad." "The law is wrong," Hyun-woo said, continuing to work on the pipe he was fixing. "Our people didn't cause any plague. They were framed. That's not for you to decide. There are proper channels for these things. The proper channels have ignored her for 73 years. How much longer should she wait?" Dae-yoon stepped closer, her voice dropping. "Listen to me carefully. If you continue this, there will be consequences. You could be sent back to Earth. You could be blacklisted from ever working in space again. Is this really worth your career? Haiyan-Wu stopped working and looked at her directly. Yes, it is. You're being foolish and naive. Maybe, but I'd rather be foolish and kind than smart and cruel. Dayun left angry, but Haiyan-Wu knew she was just the beginning. The pressure would increase. He was right. That same day, a young human journalist named Minji contacted him. She worked for one of Earth's galactic news services. I heard about what you did, she said, her eyes bright with interest. Helping the Nethkari Queen. That's amazing. I just did what anyone should do. But nobody else did. That's the story. Minji pulled out a recording device. Will you talk to me about it? Let me tell your story. Haiyan-Wu hesitated. Then he thought about Velrotha, alone in Section 9 for so many years. If telling his story could help her, it was worth it. Okay, but you need to tell her story too. The real story, not the lies everyone believes. Minji smiled. That's exactly what I want to do. Over the next week, Haiyan-Wu and Velrotha worked with Minji. They showed her the historical records Haiyan-Wu had found. Velrotha shared documents she had preserved from before the exile, evidence of the Calver biological weapons program. Minji dug deeper, finding more proof, interviewing old scholars who remembered the truth but had been afraid to speak. The story broke on every major news network. The forgotten genocide, how the Nethkari were framed and destroyed. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Some people were outraged at the injustice. Others defended the old laws, saying it was safer not to risk contact. The Calver Empire denied everything, calling it human propaganda. The station erupted in controversy. Protests formed. Counter-protests appeared. And in the middle of it all, Velrotha made a decision. I am going to address the Galactic Council, she told Haiyan-Wu. This is my chance. Perhaps my only chance. They might not let you speak. Then I will make them listen. Her silver eyes blazed with determination. For 73 years, I have been silent and patient. No more. If I am to be the last of my people, then I will make sure the truth is heard before I fade. The council session was held in the station's grand chamber, a massive space designed to hold representatives from hundreds of worlds. Velrotha requested permission to speak, citing ancient galactic law that allowed any sentient being to petition the council. They couldn't refuse without looking tyrannical, especially with all the media attention. But they weren't happy about it. The day of the session, Haiyan-Wu stood with Velrotha outside the chamber. She wore her old royal robes, cleaned and repaired as best they could manage. She looked every bit the queen she claimed to be. Are you ready? He asked. No, she admitted. But I will do it anyway. They started to enter, but security stopped Haiyan-Wu at the door. Only the petitioner may enter, said a Calver guard named Gi-Won. He was a large, armored being with cold eyes. Humans are not permitted. He's my bonded companion, Velrotha said firmly. Galactic law allows. Galactic law does not recognize Nethkari bonding customs, Gi-Won interrupted. The human stays outside. Haiyan-Wu felt Velrotha's fear spike through their connection. She was terrified of facing the council alone. It's okay, he said quietly. I'll be right here. You can feel me through the bond. You're not alone. She nodded, drawing strength from his presence in her mind. Then she walked into the chamber with her head held high. Haiyan-Wu waited outside with dozens of other observers, watching on view screens. He saw Velrotha stand before the council, saw the representatives looking at her with everything from curiosity to disgust. An elder council member, an amphibious being named Dong Haiyan, called the session to order. State your petition. Nethkari. Velrotha's voice rang out clear and strong. I come not to ask for mercy, but to demand justice. I come to speak truth about lies that have lasted 1,000 years. And she did. For an hour, she presented evidence, documents, testimonies from the few remaining witnesses who had been there during the original accusations. She showed the Calver bioweapon research. She proved, piece by piece, that her people had been victims, not perpetrators. G1 and other Calver representatives tried to interrupt, to suppress the evidence, but Dong Hyan silenced them. "Let her speak," the old amphibian said. "We have silenced her people long enough." When Valratha finished, the chamber was silent. Then Dong Hyan spoke. "What you have presented today requires investigation. Serious investigation." "With respect, Elder," Valratha said, her voice breaking slightly, "my people do not have time for investigation. They are already dead. All of them. I am the last. I do not ask you to bring them back. I ask only that you remember them truly, that you acknowledge the wrong done to them." Outside the chamber, Hyan Wu felt tears running down his face. Through their bond, he felt Valratha's grief, her desperate need for her people to be remembered as they truly were. Suddenly, alarms blared. G1 and a squad of Calver security moved toward Valratha. "This session is over," G1 announced. "The Nefkari will be detained for spreading sedition." "No," Dong Hyan said firmly. "You have no authority. We have authority over threats to galactic security." Hyan Wu didn't think. He ran into the chamber, pushing past security. Other humans followed him, mechanics and traders who had been inspired by his story. They formed a barrier between Valratha and the Calver guards. "You want her? You go through us," Hyan Wu said. G1 laughed. "Stupid humans. You would start a war over this creature?" "No," said a voice from the entrance. Dayun walked in with a dozen human diplomats behind her. "But we would stand for what's right, even if it's inconvenient." The chamber erupted in chaos.